Good afternoon. Can I ask you to please all take a seat, please, so we can begin. Your mind doesn't know what to think. It believes what you tell it. 5 years ago, Nicholas King, our presenter for this session, heard that phrase and it completely altered the trajectory of his life. He realised that what we think about, how we feel, and the emotions we experience are all components of our lives that we have complete authority over. Just as important, his understanding of this truth provided an insight into how our lives can prosper to a level we may have only dreamed about before. Get ready for the 3 learning objectives you'll take away from this presentation. Number 1, you can choose what you think. Number 2, your thought health is the same as your physical health. Thirdly, what you are in your mind is who you are to the world. Additionally, Nicholas is the founder of Thinking Mechanics, which is a resource to teach and help people take control of their thoughts, understand their purpose, and to live their most inspired life. Please help me welcome speaker, entrepreneur, Nicholas King.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. How are we all? Who's enjoying the conference, the convention? Sorry? That's fantastic. It's actually my first convention. Oh no, stop it, don't, please. And I've actually flown all the way from Australia to be here today. That was a lovely flight. Even the air stewardess staff were moaning to get off the plane at the end of that one. That was 14 hours. And what I want to do, if you don't mind, because I know we haven't really got into it, but unfortunately, I had to leave my beautiful family in Australia. I know. Bad daddy, bad husband. And so my wife and my 3 children, Ava, Jet, and Scarlett, are currently, I think, huddled around a PC because Toastmasters International has done an amazing thing. And they've allowed these sessions to be live streamed. So we're being live streamed right now. So I was wondering to ask for your help so we can bring my family into this room, in our hearts, and for you, after I say 3, to say, "Good morning, Australia." Would you be willing to do that? Yes. You will? Should we do a practice run? So we're just going to say, "Good morning, Australia." Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Good morning, Australia. Oh, you people are good. Okay, that was good. So we're going to do the real one now, even though they've just heard that. So here we go. Holly, Ava, Jet, and Scarlett. Yes! Fantastic, fantastic. It's a blessing to be here today. It really is. I'm very honoured. Thank you for choosing to come here today. I know you've got a lot of options you could have chosen to go to, but you came and sat down here. And what do they say? The first rule of success is to show up. So I'm very grateful. Thank you very much. It is a bit strange for me, though, to be here today. It is a bit odd. Because it wasn't that long ago, it really wasn't, that someone came up to me and said, "Nick, you should be a Toastmaster." And I thought, a toast what? But now, fast forward, I've been a Toastmaster since September 2018, so nearly a year. Fantastic. And I'm also the very proud president of my club in Australia, which is Oracle Toastmasters in Sydney. And just to explain the name, Oracle doesn't mean that we sit around a table trying to predict one another's futures. That's Oracle, the business, the cloud business, the software business. I'm very grateful that they support us having a club. And we were talking about expanding into 150 countries. Did we hear that in the opening ceremony? Well, my belief is this, is that having a corporate club, we treat it as a resource for the community within our business. And I think every single business should have a corporate club. What about that? Yeah. So you may not be aware of this, but what I'm talking about, becoming a thinking mechanic, is under the banner of inspirational leadership. You're in this room, whether you're aware of it or not, because you're interested in inspirational leadership. Is everyone interested in inspirational leadership? Yeah. Good, we're in the right room. And so I realized that that's actually, unfortunately, can be considered an oxymoron. Because I don't know about you, but I've certainly been in leadership scenarios where it's been far from inspirational. But it's an important topic. It's an important topic. And so if I just take inspirational leadership and I kind of uncouple it, and I take the inspirational bit, I'll just put it over here, and I kind of straight, right, inspirational, we're going to come back to you. It's okay. And we just talk about leadership. And interestingly enough, just a couple of days ago, I just put leadership into Google as a search term, and what came back is 4.7 billion search results. 4.7 billion. It shows you it's an important topic. And because of that, where do we start with it? Because there's so many different perspectives and opinions, isn't there, and frameworks and teachers of leadership. But where I want to start with it is to ask this question: where does leadership begin? Where does it start? Does it start with the district director, the area director, the club president? Does it start with the CEO of the business you may work in? Does it start with the manager you may report to? Does it start with your wife? Your husband? Stop hitting him, I saw that. Does it start with your partner? Does it start with the government? And I don't believe it starts with any of those people. I've come to believe that where leadership begins, where it starts, is with you. So if leadership begins with us, if it starts with you, then potentially the natural next question to ask is this: where do I start? Where do I begin? And so I'll answer that by going through a recent conversation I was a part of with a relatively new Toastmaster in our club at Oracle. And he was posed a question which I'm sure you're all quite familiar with, and it was like this: so this Toastmastery thing, what is it? And our new member did really, really well in answering it. And he said, well, it's kind of, I'm kind of finding things out about myself in doing it. I can see that Toastmasters is going to help me kind of become what I want to be. But then he said something that really kind of perked my interest. He said, you know what, I think Toastmasters is actually going to allow me to understand what I am capable of. What I'm capable of. That's an interesting question. What are you capable of? If you ask anyone to introduce themselves, it may go something along the lines of this. Hello, I'm Nicholas King, and I was born in August 1977, graduated from university in 1998. That allowed me to go and live and work in many different countries around the planet: Australia, New Zealand, India, Japan, Korea. I met my wife in Japan. She's not Japanese, she's Australian. So we moved back to Australia, and that's where we have our 3 beautiful kids, and I work as a principal training facilitator at Oracle. There we go, that's me. Well, sort of. Well, because like all of us, we've each been on our own unique journeys in life, right? Our own unique paths. And what I've just described leaves out a whole heap of things that we don't necessarily have the opportunity to express. In fact, in our society, we focus on what we do but we don't necessarily focus on who we are. As a child, I was fascinated with any programs that had anything to do with David Attenborough. David Attenborough, the UK natural historian. That's my very bad impression. I used to love watching programs about the animal and plant kingdoms. The fact they used to have they look like they just have the same struggles as we do in our kingdom, the human being kingdom. I especially like watching programs about animals that seem to just have a very clear sense of purpose. It was just abundantly obvious why they're on the planet. Take, for example, the cheetah. And imagine for one day, that cheetah was given the ability to speak. And you asked the cheetah a question. You said, "Hello, Mr. Cheetah, please introduce yourself. Who are you? What are you capable of?" I wonder what the cheetah would say. Would the cheetah say, "Hello, I'm a cheetah"? Now, it just so happens the cheetah sounds remarkably like me. So the cheetah says, "Hello, I'm a cheetah. I can run pretty fast. In fact, I'm the fastest animal on the planet." I know, don't. "I like catching stuff, particularly gazelle. They're tasty. And when I'm not running, because I get pretty tired, I sit under a tree in the shade, flicking my tail, just looking pretty cool." Or would the cheetah say, in answer to that question, "Please introduce yourself. Who are you? What are you capable of?" Would the cheetah say, "I'm a hunter, born to ensure the prey I'm designed to catch does not increase to unmanageable numbers. All that I am and all that I do is tasked to achieve that mission"? Interesting comparison. I wonder if it makes you think, how would you answer that question? How would you answer that question if someone asked you to introduce yourself, but tell us who you are? What are you capable of? Because if you can answer that question, what are you capable of? Then that's the genesis. That's the start of being able to inspire and lead the most important person in your life. And that's you. I couldn't answer that question. No way, not even close to it. But that changed about 5 years ago. And I was 36 years old at the time, and I was commuting from a place called the Gold Coast in Australia to Brisbane. And that's about an hour and a bit each way. So 2 hours in a car every day of the working week. Normally great, right? Listen to podcasts, audiobooks, be in my own thoughts. But at that time, it was fairly agonizing for me. Because what I had was this really kind of annoying and perpetuating thinking pattern that could be summed up like this: I've had enough of being me. That was the prevailing thought. What was even worse and even more annoying was that I had everything in my life to be happy, content, and fulfilled. A wife that I love, a wife that loves me, 3 healthy, happy children, food in the refrigerator, a roof over my head, and a job paying me very good money. So I couldn't understand, I couldn't reconcile why I was so miserable. A man at church saw through the facade and came up to me and asked me a question consisting of 3 words. That would have been a very special question. 3 words that I generally believe can save someone's life. He came up to me and he said, "Nick, are you okay?" Yes, fine. All is well. That answer didn't fly, because the look he gave to me kind of poured the truth out of me. I'm not okay. I should be happy. I should be content. I should be fulfilled, but I'm none of them. I don't know why. And I'm tired of it. 2 weeks later, I was sitting in front of a man by the name of Greg Gardner. And before I continue, I'm going to mention Greg a few times in the rest of my talk this afternoon. And some of you may wonder, why does he keep talking about this guy Greg? Who's this guy Greg? I made a promise to Greg based on the experience I'm briefly going to take you through. I said to Greg, you know what, if I tell this story to anyone, I'll make sure I want to say your name. I want to honor you that way. I'm going to say your name. I want people to know who you are. I didn't realize at the time, making that promise, that I'd be standing here at the International Convention, but nonetheless, I'm a man of my word. Greg Gardner was the psychologist that I was referred to. And we went through the normal kind of usual first few sessions. When on the third session, something miraculous occurred. I had another kind of tormented day driving in the car, and I kind of just stormed into Greg's office. And I said, "Greg, that is it. I've had enough. I've had enough of being me." And Greg was like, "Okay." Didn't expect that. That wasn't on the agenda. But sit down, tell me what you mean. I said, "It's my thinking, Greg. It kind of just spirals down and down and down, and I see it affects everything. It affects my relationships, it affects my work, and I know it's just not helping me, but I don't know what to do. I don't know how to stop it. I want it to end." And Greg said to me, "Okay, I think I've got a cure for that, and I think you're ready to receive it." And so what Greg took me on was essentially a masterclass for about an hour of how the brain works, of how our mind works, of how our thoughts work. And that the brain, of all of the organs in our body, commands the majority of the energy that you consume. And that what we think about, how we think, is a fundamentally important part of how we live. And that if we leave our mind on automatic mode, in automatic pilot, it can behave similarly to an untrained dog or an undisciplined child. And then Greg said something to me that changed my life from that moment on. It was completely unexpected. And at the end of the session, he sat me down and he said, "Nick, I want you to remember something. I want you to hear me. Your mind doesn't know what to think. It believes whatever you tell it. Your mind doesn't know what to think. It believes whatever you tell it." It was nearly impossible for me at the time to describe in words the impact that occurred inside of me the milliseconds those words left that man's mouth. There was such an impact, even Greg sat back in his chair and he went, "Wow, what happened there?" There was a change. And the change occurred in front of that man's eyes. We finished the session with Greg asking me to say something 100 times a day for a week. And that was, "Today is a great day and I'm enjoying my life." Today is a great day and I'm enjoying my life. Interestingly though, speaking to Greg, a man that's worked for decades with some of the most troubled minds you can imagine, said to me, that's not the first version of that phrase. The first version was, "Today's a great day and I'm living my life with passion." Today's a great day, I'm living my life with passion. But he had to downgrade that version to the version he said to me, because he found that people just could not say that original version with their mouth. They just couldn't say it. It was too much of a lie as it applied to their life. So I didn't just say that. I sang it. I sang it. And I sang it from his office all the way home. Now, that was only 20 minutes. And the funny thing was, I was in the car with the window down, and I stopped at a red light stop, singing. Now, I'm not going to win America's Got Talent. I wouldn't win Australia's Got Talent, and I'm certainly not getting a record contract, but I will sing it. Because Mark Brown said, stretch yourself yesterday, so I will stretch myself right here, and I'll sing that, but only if you want me to. I'm so sorry. So I was in the car, and I was like this. Today is a great day, and I'm enjoying my life. To this day, I remember exactly how it felt in that car. And it was so funny because I stopped at a red light stop and I was singing it like that out the window. And I noticed that there was another car next to me with a guy sitting in his driver's seat with his window down looking at me like this. As his window came up. So I sang it. Now, I'll tell you what, I wasn't singing it because I was showing off or boasting. I was singing it because I was celebrating. I was rejoicing. The fact is this. I walked into that man's office defeated, saying I've had enough of being me. But I walked out of his office victorious, saying being me is enough. I am enough. I'm okay. Enough about me. Because I tell you what, you're all enough. You are all okay. And what I was celebrating was the fact that something had changed. Something had shifted in his office. It was like I was given a completely different perspective on life. And one of the ways I can describe it is when Neo, in the movie The Matrix, suddenly realizes what the Matrix is. And more to the point, understands his authority and influence in it. What I was celebrating was that I realized that I'd allowed life events to happen to me rather than me happening to life events. And that I realized that we all, each and every one of us, have a lot more authority in our life. And I'm not talking about the ability to suddenly stop bullets in midair or jump over big buildings, but I am talking about the fact that we each, all of us, have a lot more control over how our life unravels. So what was born, what was inspired into life that day is what I call thinking mechanics. And thinking mechanics is just a nuts and bolts approach to understand how each and every one of us can lead and inspire the most important person in your life, and that is you. And so thinking mechanics to date has been a kind of me going on a bit of a journey, not across geography, but a journey to kind of understand people. What is it that we're capable of? More to the point, if we know that, in many cases, what hinders us? What stops us from getting that? But then also I wanted to know what happened in that office. Why was it such a textbook definition of a revelation for me? And was it something just for me? Just to keep to myself? Or was there a broader purpose to it? What I've come to understand is each and every one of us have the right and the innate authority to take leadership of the three very important aspects of us that make us, us. And those three aspects are our thoughts, our words, and our beliefs. Our thoughts and our words and our beliefs. So let's start with our thoughts. Our thoughts are such a vital part. And they're the cornerstone, they're the genesis of everything. They're the start of you understanding how you can self-lead, how you can lead and inspire the most important person in your life, and that is you. Arguably, our thoughts are the genesis for everything in our life. You see, our thoughts are a vital part of our existence. They're a part of you that makes you, you. And that, in fact, our thoughts are like a tool that can be used to create the experience that you call your life. And in fact, the truth of the matter is this: everything that you experience in your life started, its genesis is a thought. Everything. Thoughts as their biological manifestation are fascinating. Every time you think something, have a new thought, what's going on inside of your head is neurons that haven't met before are joining together in what is the neurological equivalent of a smooch, a kiss. In other words, you've got kisses going on inside of your head all the time. Thoughts have a biological consequence. When you think something, you can think it first, you feel something next. A thought created the Great Wall of China. A thought created the Great World Wars. Thoughts are unbelievably powerful, and just because we can't see them doesn't mean they're not working. Which made me think, actually. I thought, hold on a minute, we can put so much rigor around learning something like driving a car, something that's useful to us, gets us somewhere. We read the highway code, we practice, there's a methodology to it, but yet the same rigorous process is not applied to the most useful and most fascinating tool gifted to every single one of us. And that's our mind, our thoughts. I was reminded of the power of our thoughts one day, quite recently, when I was swimming. And I'd been swimming in a 25-meter pool. I'm not sure whether we use meters out here in America, but I decided that, and that was an okay pool. It takes you about 30 seconds, basically, to front crawl, freestyle, 25 meters. But I decided that I was going to graduate from a 25-meter pool and double it and go to a 50-meter pool. Now, when I was swimming in a 25-meter pool, what I would do is I would kind of pick the person that seemed to be going quite fast consistently and try and keep up with them. Have my own little swimming competition. When I went to the 50-meter pool, it was very, very different. Because in the 25-meter pool, I swam like that. In the 50-meter pool, I swam like this. So I'd get into the 50-meter pool and I'd say, just take it easy. No need to compete. Just do your lengths and get out. But then there's always that person. They just seem to glide through the water effortlessly. And it's just like, I'm not competitive, but I'm going to have a go. So then that's what happens, you see. I transport myself into the men's 50-meter freestyle dash. In lane 1, Nicholas King. In lane 2, we have no idea. And as they prepare, Nicholas King waits for we have no idea, and they are off. And it's Nicholas King and we have no idea. They're neck and neck at this time. But Nicholas King, in his mind, is saying, I'll swim through the water like a dart. I can beat this guy. I can touch the wall first. My muscles don't ache. I'll pull the water harder than I've ever done before. And they get to the halfway mark, and Nicholas King is edging ahead. He's edging ahead from me, I have no idea. We have no idea, he's keeping up, but it's Nicholas King, and he touches the wall first. He's won. The men's 50-metre freestyle dash that no one else is aware of apart from me. Oh, so proud of myself. But this guy just keeps going. And I'm like, what? How's he doing that? I mean, my next step's hyperventilation. So I have to know what he's doing. So in a very non-creepy way, I put my goggles back on again and I go down below the water. And as the bubbles clear, I kind of see what's going on. He's wearing flippers. Flipping flippers. You what? No wonder I'm knackered. But then it dawned on me. You see, without the knowledge of his advantage, I was able to keep up with him. I was able to beat him. You see, the point here is that if I knew he had flippers on, would I have been able to achieve that? If I knew he had flippers on, more to the point, would I have even attempted to try in the first place? You see, in life we can limit ourselves based on what we perceive to be as a hindrance, a hurdle, an advantage against us. How could I possibly win? He's got flippers on. You see, regardless of what we see with our eyes, our thought takes precedence over whatever physical limitation that you may see. Your mind doesn't know what to think. It believes whatever you tell it. So let me ask you, has anyone got any flippers in their life? Why don't you become club president? Oh, no. No, I couldn't do that. What about go for that job promotion? Me there? No. Or have you got a dream that's been in there for years? It won't go to sleep. How could I possibly get there? So our thoughts are something that we can train. Some thoughts we need to take captive. Some thoughts we need to reject. But how do we start that? How do we start that process? But before I get there, we're going to build this up. And so the first rule here is of self-leadership, to be able to lead and inspire the most important person in your life, and that is you, is that first we have to think it. The next thing, how we train our thinking, is quite simply with our words. What you say. And I've seen the other presenters, and it's funny how often that is mentioned. Because it's a far overlooked thing when it comes to how we live our life. There's a great truth that states, so as a rudder steers a ship, so your tongue directs your life. And so I look at words now almost like they're the bow of a violin. And when that bow strikes the strings of the violin, the music that is produced is your life. Winston Churchill knew about his words when he said, we will fight them in France. We will fight them on the oceans and the seas. We will fight them with increasing confidence and increasing strength in the air. We will never surrender. John F. Kennedy knew this as well when he said, we choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and other things, not because they're easy, but because they're hard, and that this goal serves to organize and measure the very best of our capabilities, energies, and skills. We choose to go to the moon. And of course, Martin Luther King knew this when he said, I have a dream. I have a dream that one day my four children will live in a nation that doesn't judge them by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And what these men knew, and many other women and men like them, was that the truth is regardless of what you see with your eye, hear with your ear, touch with your hand, what you say, what takes precedence, is what you say with your tongue. And so why was it that Greg Gardner asked me to say, today is a great day and I'm enjoying my life? Why did he get me to say that 100 times a day? Because your words have the ability to change the way you think. Your words have the ability to change the way you think. There's power in our words. And so I want to do a little bit of a game right now. And it's a game that I played with Greg in his office when we were going through and teaching me about this. And so you can stay in your seats. It's an individual game. And so what I want you to do is, after my count, is count in your heads from 10 to 1 backwards, sequentially. 10 to 1 backwards, in your heads, silently, on my mark. And when you're done that, just hold your hand up. Everyone understand? Okay. So on my mark, 1, 2, 3, go. Thank you. It always surprises me that some of the hands, the range of speed, some hands just shoot up straight away. Some very quick counters. Okay. So the next section of this is to do the same again, but this time, when you get to the midpoint, say your name out loud. When you get to the midpoint, say, and if you've got a middle part of your name, say that as well. If you've got an unusually long name, say it all. So count from 10 to 1 in your heads. At the midpoint, say your name out loud. On my mark, 1, 2, 3, go. Does anyone want to share to me, was there any difference between the first time you did it and the second time you did it? Shout it out. Did anyone just say then that, could you remember which number you exited from when you said your name? You could, okay. The interesting thing is that when I did that exercise, Greg asked me, any difference? I went, well, yeah, it's kind of a bit subtle really, but I couldn't actually remember the number that I left before I said my name. I just kind of assumed it was 5 when I went back. And the point here is that with this game, it's a very simple example of that you can't think and speak at the same time. Your words take precedence over your thoughts. Now, the interesting thing here is that for the last 4 years or so, after becoming aware of this, I started using words. Was there truth to this? And the point here is I don't want to stand here today saying to you all that, my thinking is amazing. I'm just a positive thinker the whole time. Because those thoughts still creep in. The ones that make you feel guilty. Those thoughts still come in that may make you even feel like you're shameful about something. But now I know what to do based on that exercise. And I make sure I say, do you know what? I'm enough. And I'm ready to receive into my life what is necessary to complete the plan in place for me to achieve. I'm enough. Can everyone say with their mouth right now, on 3, I am enough? 1, 2, 3. You are enough. Just the way you are. I'm sure there's a song that sings that. So we need to think it. And we need to say it. When we think it and we say it, enough. What's next? That third section, that third component of being able to lead and inspire the most important person in your life, which is you, is your beliefs. Your thoughts and your words form your beliefs. Your beliefs are the precursor to then what you experience as your life. A very famous incident in history shows us the power in our beliefs. The year is 1880. There's a very successful businessman sitting at his desk with a very troubled mind. You see, he's got his company into some unprecedented financial issues. He is now staring and looking at the prospect of not being able to pay his workers' next wage. He doesn't know what to do. So he decides to go for a walk, to think through what to do. He takes a different route to where he normally walks. And he comes across a beautiful looking park he's not seen before. And in that park is this beautiful lake, still lake. And over that lake is this lovely little bow bridge. So he decides that he's going to go on to the middle of the bridge and contemplate what he was going to do. How am I going to get myself into this? How am I going to get myself out of this? I don't think I can. As he was standing there thinking what to do, he notices that there's an older gentleman approaching from the other side of the bridge. And as the older gentleman comes up onto the bridge, he says, "A penny for your thoughts, sir." And the businessman says, I don't want to burden you with what's going on in my life, really. And the older gentleman says, "A burden shared is a burden halved." So the businessman says, "Okay." And so over the next hour, he explains to the older man what's going on. And as he's explaining it, he's beginning to come up with ideas as how potentially he can get himself out of it. His words are beginning to change. At the end of the hour, the older man says to him, "Your story is inspirational. And the ideas that you've come up with are compelling. And because of that, I'd like to help you." And so the older man reaches into his jacket pocket and pulls out an envelope and hands it to the businessman with 2 instructions. First, please do not open this envelope until you return to your office. Second, I would like you to come back to this bridge in 1 year from now and tell me how you stewarded what I've just given to you. Well, the businessman was like, "Oh my God, what's going on?" He kind of scurried back to his office, sat down at his desk, and calmly opened the envelope. Reached inside, pulled out what was inside, and he just could not believe it. What? A check for $500,000, signed by John D. Rockefeller. Wow. Done, saved. Saved. But then he thought, actually, do you know what? I'm not going to use this cheque straight away. I'm going to put the cheque, I'm going to put it into my safe behind my desk. And I'll only use it when I absolutely need to. But now I know it's there, that's it. I got myself into this mess. I'm going to get myself out of it. And over the course of that year, that's exactly what he did. In fact, he returned that company back to a profit that he'd never seen before. The cheque remained in the safe the whole time. The year clocked around to when he saw that man on that bridge. He had marked it on his calendar. He was so excited. Here I go. So he gets the cheque and puts it in his pocket and he runs back. He's sure he can't be there. And he gets to the park and he sees that the man's on the bridge. He can't believe it. So he runs back to the bridge and he says, Mr. Rockefeller, it's me. Thank you so much. I've got the cheque here. I didn't even use it. You wouldn't believe what's been going on. And the old man looks at him and says, sorry? And the businessman says, no, it's me. We spoke last year. You said, come back here. And as he was trying to explain to the older man, a bit confused, he noticed that there was a woman coming, hurrying towards the bridge. And as she got closer, he saw that she was wearing a nurse's uniform. I'm so sorry. Mr. Bartholomew. Oh, I'm so sorry, sir, if he's been bothering you. The businessman has said, Mr. Bartholomew? No, this is Mr. Rockefeller. We met last year. And the nurse says, I'm so sorry, sir, but Mr. Bartholomew is a patient at her nursing home just outside of the park. He escapes nearly every other day and likes to come to this bridge and likes to imagine he's Mr. Rockefeller. I'm so sorry if he's caused you any confusion. Please, Mr. Bartholomew, come. As they walked away, Mr. Bartholomew and the nurse, the businessman stood there, dumbfounded. The whole time, he believed that solution was in his safe. And that belief drove everything that he did. Changed the way he thought, changed what he said, and ultimately drove the outcome in his life. So that day with Greg Gardner, fast forward 5 years, and I realized that our thoughts and our words and our beliefs create what is the symphony that is your life. And your life is a precious, precious masterpiece. I realized that our thoughts, words, and beliefs are like a toolbox. And like a hammer is designed for a nail, so this toolbox is used for you to create and achieve a certain thing in your life. And it's when we don't understand that or we're not aware of that we can use the toolbox without direction. And we land in a place we weren't designed to be. I had a very beautiful childhood growing up. I look at my childhood, early childhood, through the lens of rose-tinted glass. And one of the reasons for that is my dad is a natural storyteller. And he used to give us just a different perspective on things as a kid. One particular night, we went out into our back garden in southeast London, and it used to snow in winter back then in London. And my dad saw a kind of clump of snowflakes all bunched together falling, and he caught them in his glove, and he said, look, Nick, look at these snowflakes. And if you look at them really closely, you'll see that each snowflake is different to the other one. And that, in fact, the snowflakes on the ground and the snowflakes falling from the sky, none of them are the same as the ones in my hand. And in fact, when these snowflakes melt away, there will never be a snowflake in that formation of crystals again. And I think back to that, and I realize that's like you and I. that you are completely unique. There is no one on the planet like you. There will never be another person like you. You are it. And that you have inside of you, you possess inside of you everything that you need to achieve, everything that you need to achieve a certain thing. And you're built to receive it. And so I realized that you are you because there's some other people in the world that need something from you that they need or desire. And that when they receive that, they can eventually go on and do that in someone else's life. In other words, you are not an expression just for you to benefit from. And so I realized that in life, true fulfillment, true prosperity comes from the serving and helping and influencing others to be a better version of themselves. Because that allows us to be a better version of ourselves. And then I realized that I received a gift that day in Greg's office. And it was a gift that I knew I needed to steward, that I needed to understand, and that eventually share for anyone that was ready to receive it. And so, closing up, in preparation for this speech today, I got the help and guidance from many people. So grateful. But there was one particular person that's paid particular interest in the ideas talked through in this speech. And in fact, took so much interest, she said, do you know what? I'm going to take some of this and apply it to my life, see what happens. And so this person has been on their own unique journey, like we all have, of late particularly challenging, a single parent, but extremely gifted in art and creativity. And also holds down a job as a specialist nurse in a chronic wound management department within the NHS in London. And I had one of the most beautiful conversations I've had in a long, long time about 2 weeks ago. This person called me and said, Nick, I think I found it. I think I know why I'm here. I think I know what I'm capable of. I think I know who I am. I said, really? Tell me. Who are you? And for the first time in her 44 years on this planet, she sheepishly said with her mouth, I'm a healer. Born to use my creative gifting to help advance and progress the chronic healing of patients, and in the process, develop an entirely new form of treatment that speeds up the healing process and ensures patients are relieved from their pain and suffering. The reason why that was such a beautiful conversation is the person I was speaking to is my sister, Wendy. And now she's abundantly obvious that now she's been able to express with her mouth who she is and what she's capable of. She can begin to work and ensure she can begin to think about it, announce it, and believe it. What are you capable of? Fellow Toastmasters, I'm going to leave you with this. I'm going to ask you to do something. I want you to invest the time. I want you to invest the time in you, because I'd love you one day to be able to look someone in the eye and say, I'm not going to tell you what I do, but I am going to tell you who I am and what I'm capable of. And so let me leave you with something that you can try and remember. If you can think it, if you can say it, if you can believe it, then it's yours to receive it. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicholas. That was truly incredible. And for a New Zealander to say that to an Australian, that is quite a compliment. I think we are all encouraged and enlightened to become thinking mechanics with more control over what we think. Make note that this and all education sessions are immediately followed by a speaker's showcase at the Rocky Square Level 2. Please take advantage of the one-on-one opportunity to go and meet Nicholas over there now. Thank you.